Welcome to the Inspiring Minds Talk Show. I'm your host, Alexa Henderson. I will be inspiring you with powerful conversations, innovative leaders, and visionary entrepreneurs who are using leadership and mindset tools in their businesses and careers to make a massive impact in the world. This evening, I am super excited to introduce our guest, Mark Vander Gaag. He is your life's purpose coach. He's been a student of the Course in Miracles for over 30 years. He's worked with leaders such as Mary Ann Williamson, and he's the creator of the Radical Reboot and Power Cluster programs. So excited to have you on the show and to hear more about your philosophy and what you're up to.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here, Alexa.
Welcome. Beautiful. Yeah. So, wow. Course in Miracles, 30 years student and teacher.
Yeah.
Let's hear a little bit about that. How did you get into the Course in Miracles?
You know, a friend of mine, a new friend at that time, I was visiting at his house and he just came out of the room and put this book in my lap. He said, "Here, I think this is for you." And he's like, "I've had it for a while, but I don't read it." I'm like, okay. But as soon as I saw the cover and I saw the title, A Course in Miracles, I thought he was right. I'm like, this is very interesting. So I went home and I started reading it. At first, I knew it was something powerful and I was very drawn to it, but I could not understand what it was saying to me. I felt like I was reading a foreign language. I'm like, this is English, but I can't get it. What does it say? I really couldn't get it. And then I put it down for a few months. And in the meantime, I met Mary Ann Williamson at a gathering. Like I didn't know who she was. Somebody invited me to go to this thing. I just went off the cuff and turned out to be her. And she was talking about the course. I got one of her tapes. And then for a few months, I listened to her information on a tape. And that just sort of gave me this schematic to plug into. And when I went back to the course, I was like, how did I not understand this? It like spoke directly to me.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. It's like she unlocked it for you.
Yeah, she did. She gave me just the right things. And then it was all made sense.
Wow. Okay. So is that so now that you're a teacher of the Course in Miracles, is that what you've experienced is important for this text for people to really get it?
You know what? I find so many people a vast majority of people have the experience with the course that I had. I have a woman come in to one of my groups. She's like in her late 80s, almost 90. She's had the course as long as I've had it, and it's been sitting on her shelf the whole time. She finally said, it's time for me to read this. And she came into my group and, she totally got it. It's like, yeah, I think, having a stepping stone, somebody to sort of help plug you into it. It just happens to be something I'm really good at as well. So, I love doing it.
That's exciting. That's exciting. Beautiful. And so you're a life purpose coach and you utilize the Course in Miracles to support people in it sounds like you really support people in shifting in any sort of midlife crisis or quarter life crisis or just any time of transition.
Right. All those periods at quarter life, midlife, any career life crisis. It's really an identity crisis, right? Existential crisis. I feel that we and the Course would support this, Course of Miracles would support this, that, you're meant to go through phases in life. One of the things that happens in our society is we don't really honor that. We don't honor those phases. Like we're expected to be one thing all the time, always forever, and just get better and better at that thing. But the truth is, you phase through and you're supposed to step up into the next level and then the next level and the next level. Like it's a constant process. If you don't honor those cycles, you want to hold on to the old out of fear, right? That's when it becomes a crisis. You get stuck. Like something's nudging you to move, but you can't because you're stuck and want to hold on to the old. It feels safe, right? So that's what a crisis is. And the Course says, like, everything is for your good. Everything. And if you don't move when you're meant to move, like there's a natural flow to it, organic flow. If we were really in touch and we weren't being squashed down by all these outside messages that we've taken in to ourselves, we would naturally move into that next direction. But if we don't move, things will move you. And sometimes it can get very uncomfortable. Like say, you're ready to move to a new house or build a house or move to a new place. but you're very attached to your apartment and it's nice and warm there, and it's too small, but you feel safe. And then the landlord sells the building, right? It's like you don't move, you wait, and then it's like you get spit out. That's where people experience like, this is a crisis. I lost my job, or whatever, right? You don't really get spit out of something unless you stay too long.
Mm,
Basically, everything has a purpose and it's for your good.
I love that perspective. Yeah, and in some ways, I mean, this is my personal philosophy here, so take what you want and leave the rest. But in some ways, I do feel like this whole crisis of COVID has been like a gigantic reboot and reset for people
Really.
to like, you know, shift some things in their lives.
Absolutely. I've never been busier. My coaching work, my power clusters, I've got a lot of people come my way because what this has done, not to like negate or minimize the pain and suffering people are going through, because there is a lot of that. But part of what is happening is like it's quickening or speeding up this thing, this crisis thing, right? Where your people are actually questioning, well, who am I? Why am I here? Was I really enjoying my life the way it was? When you start asking those questions, it can get really uncomfortable, right? You start to know, and then you resist, and that's the crisis. Yeah.
Because it's scary. It's new uncharted territory is scary.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's a lot of that happening now. That's sort of what this has forced a lot of people into. And on that level, I would say it's a good thing. Not that I think COVID is a good thing or whatever, but that a lot of people are stepping back, and sort of rebooting, right? They're stepping back. I do this thing in one of my talks where I talk about, being on your back foot, stepping back. It's like when you feel like you got knocked back, actually, it's an opportunity to reload, right? To reboot, reload, and then launch forward. So that's really what this is for people. And we get to do that individually and as a collective. That's what's being asked of us, I believe.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And it's so important, really, the support that a coach is or a community is. It's so important to have those people that have done just maybe even just a little bit more work or entered into a little bit more uncharted territory than we have, so we see what's possible. And it sounds like you really do an amazing job of creating that context for people, and you've gone deep and done the work.
Oh yeah, I've gone deep in work with you guys at Next Level, which I love. Some of the greatest work that I've ever done was at Next Level. If it wasn't for Next Level a few years ago, I wouldn't have launched my new program. So, Next Level helped me get ready for that. And everything you do is getting you ready for the next thing, right? Look, I'm an expert at shifting. That's something I've done my whole life. And through my own experiences, pain and suffering, I know when there's something trying to be birthed, like something new wanting to come forward. I know what it feels like when I'm done with that and there's the next new thing. And I know how to get from that old thing to the new thing. I've done it numerous times in my own life. It's definitely a spiritual process. I try to guide people the way I've been guided. Like, instead of visualizing, I support people in envisioning. And so the distinction is, when you visualize it, it's sort of coming from your own tiny little micro mind, your ego mind, trying to fix your life. Like, this doesn't feel good, this is wrong, I'm going to try to fix it this way. And that never works. Ultimately, it might temporarily seem to help, but over the long run, you're just going to keep creating what you already have. So you have to go beyond that to what I call the vortex, or the macro mind, and ask, like, allow yourself to be guided, have something new brought forward to you beyond anything you've already thought of or tried to figure out. It requires relinquishing both what you think the problem is, and even more importantly and more difficultly, is the solution, because we get attached to what our solutions are, right?
Interesting.
The things we think we want, right? If you can put it aside and relinquish it, let it go, and invite in the new vision, everything else gets taken care of. And my experience is, on the path to fulfilling your vision, everything you need is provided to you even before you know you need it. That's been my experience. It's my experience with my clients as well.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
cool. So it's like a level of surrender, it sounds like.
Yep. Yeah, no, the only reason I don't use the word surrender is because in the Course in Miracles, it never uses that word. And I've gotten
Interesting.
into difficulty with some of my students. And they say, it doesn't say surrender, I mean relinquish, because it says relinquish. I think the
Relinquish.
reason it does that is because it uses language the whole thing about the course is to get you out of your fear and into your right mind, out of your fearful mind into your loving mind, or into the what I call the vortex. So it tries not to use language that might carry, an impact like fear. And so when people hear surrender, to a lot of people, especially people older than me, people from a certain era, surrender means give up to the enemy, right? So, so that's why I don't use it that often, but it really is that. It's just relinquishing, letting go, giving up what your ego thinks you need.
Wow. Yeah, that's a powerful distinction there. And thank you, because I use the term surrender all the time, and I
Yeah,
hadn't connected it with, yeah, war, surrendering and war.
right.
And sometimes it does feel like a war when you're
Yeah,
fighting with yourself, and where do I go, and what do I, and I think so many people are in that fight, right? Like that's like, so especially in modern day, like that's like what so many people come up against, is like, okay, what is my purpose, like what am I supposed to be doing here? And I'd be nice to people, except I have this whole thing that I think I'm supposed to be doing, and how can I be nice to people when I'm actually just really stressed out? And what's some feedback or some tools that you, if you would share a couple things that really support you and support the people that you work with, and like letting, or and in this relinquishing.
right. Okay, so here where it gets a little spiritual. I'll try not to go too deep into this, but you have to first be able to trust that you're part of something much bigger than just you. Like the illusion is that you're this bag of bones in water and you're vulnerable and you could be harmed, and that's all there is to you. So you got to protect this thing. And when you're in that protection mode, that's when you get stressed. The things that are stressing you when you're in the protection mode will not stress you when you're not in that mode. They may be work or effort has to be done, but stress, by the way, this, is just the word that men invented for fear, right? Because stress sounds like it's a good thing because that means you're working hard and you got stress, but it's just fear. When somebody says I'm stressed, they're saying I feel fear. And so if you're in that other mindset, things that are happening to you won't trigger as much fear. Trusting that you're part of something much greater than just this tiny little body that intends something much bigger for you and for the world through you, right? And this is true for everybody. Nobody's special in this. It's for all of us, right? We're meant for more. We're meant for, greatness or grandeur. Not to like validate our ego, but so that the world gets to shift, right? The whole world. You're a part of that. And if you trust that and say yes to that, there's just no way it's not going to be taken care of. You're going to be moved forward. You'll do the things you're meant to do. The challenges will be overcome, and your experience of doing that over and over will give you the faith in it. Like, do the practice, do it, and then as you see the result, you get your conviction, right? Your confidence in the process. Not like I don't still get frustrated. I was frustrated this week. I had a lot to do, including getting ready for this. And then, my girlfriend reminded me of my own words. So she was like, Mark, I'm like, yeah. And she like reiterated, like, maybe you should meditate. I'm like, you're right. Then it immediately relieved me of that, right? So, we all go through it, but you don't have to stay in it for long.
That's beautiful. I love that. And a lot of the times it takes somebody else reminding us of
Yes.
the truth, or
Right.
shifting our mindset, supporting
Yeah.
us to shift our mindset.
Right. That's right out of the course too. It says like the course says, again, it's spiritual. So it says you go to heaven 2 by 2. You can't do this alone. And nobody's being asked to go sit in a cave and meditate by themselves. It's a rare person that's their path. No, we do this for each other. So I do it for you, Alexa, when you can't do it for yourself and you're frustrated and upset, you pick up the phone and call me. I support you through. I hold the truth for you when you can't hold it for you. And then you do it for me when I can't, when I'm struggling. The whole thing's got me, right? I'm lost in the illusion of it all. And so then we do it for each other. And what you hold in your mind for me will dawn on my mind, the course says. Because, and this is science, right? All minds are joined. They can literally measure when a thought is happening in your mind. They can measure it with an instrument without even touching your body. So these thoughts, our minds are really fluid, and we're all connected together. So when you're holding space for me, for my truth, it's going to be a lot easier for me to fill that space.
And that's like quantum physics that
Right,
they're proving all of the kind of more spiritual or woo-woo
right,
stuff that many people have been talking about for decades.
right.
And now they're proving it with quantum physics. And
Yeah,
that's so cool to be in a time when we can measure the effects of science, and also that it is, it's all energy, and energy could be spiritual and it could be scientific. Why not have both
right.
if that
Exactly.
serves you?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful. So so you've got your Radical Reboot and Power Cluster programs.
Mhm.
Will you talk to us a little bit about what those are?
So I do Radical Reboot Coaching, life shift coaching. So for anybody, it's one-on-one coachings for anybody who's in that place, midlife crisis or quarter life crisis, any situation where you feel like you're ready to shift into that next thing, but you either don't know what it is, or you sort of have an idea, or you're just stuck, afraid to move forward. I help those people, get really clear about the grand vision for their life by doing the visioning work that I'm talking about, envisioning, and then, stretch into that, greater, grander iteration of themselves. So take the actions necessary, break through the things that are blocking you. I also do shadow work. So I'm trained in shadow work through Debbie Ford, the Ford Institute for Integrative Coaching. She passed away a few
Beautiful.
years ago, but she was somebody I knew and got trained by her. So some of the work is very deep inner work to help, release some of the thoughts and ideas that are holding you in a limited place. So nobody can limit me but me, and nobody can limit you but you. So if you're feeling like you want something more, if there's an ongoing consistent complaint, right? Something you say you want, you don't have, or something you say you have, you don't want. The
Mm,
only thing holding that in place, if it's consistent, is me, right? Because the idea is you're powerful enough to generate whatever you want in your life. At your core, you're all powerful. So there's thoughts and beliefs that are limiting you. And out of those thoughts and beliefs, we come up with our interpretation of the world. And as we interpret the world and feel the feelings from that interpretation, we actually create the world in front of us. We
mm.
generate the world. And in the course, it says projection makes perception. We think it's the other way around, but it says projection makes perception. So we've already believed it in here or seen it in here on some level, and then we're projecting it out there and it's showing up in the world, and then we see reflected back to us our own projection.
So that's also something scientific too, because they talk about the reticular activation system. And it's like we have so many millions of trillions of bits of information coming to us per second that in order for our brains to keep track of all of it, or make sense of it, it's like we lock on to the beliefs that we have, which often come from childhood, right?
Yep.
We've been conditioned by certain experiences as children, because our brains were forming then, our subconsciouses. And then if we have that belief in place, then that's actually what we see occurring and showing up in the world.
Absolutely. And you can't see it any other way until you break through that, right? And anything that shows up around you that looks anything like what you already believe, it's just going to be that. You won't be able to, we're not ever really, until we wake up, we're not really ever interacting with who's in front of us and around us. We're interacting with already preconceived notions and ideas about people like that, or a woman or a man, or whatever it is. And so we're having a relationship with an illusion in our own mind. That's the illusory world the course talks about. And so you have to start undoing that, taking apart those beliefs. It's really a system. Your belief system, most of your personality, Alexa, by the time you were 7, was already locked in. And most of it you've invented. You invent it by cutting out and denying a vast portion of who you are, because you've decided it's either not good or not acceptable, or you've decided it's too good to be you on some level. Like, I don't have that, I'm not that. And so
Wow.
you cut it all out, because we learn at a very young age you can't get people to love you, but you can get them to accept you. And we know at a very young age we're hurting animals, we're hurting beings. We need to stay in the herd to survive. So we find ways to stay in the herd. And so
Mm,
we select this little portion based on our experience of what we think gets us accepted into, our surroundings, the people around us. And then we narrow down on that and we expand that part of ourselves, and we think this is who I am. It's my
wow.
personality. When there's like 95% of what's available to you, that's you don't have access to, because you've cut it out. And so
Wow.
part of the process is integrating all those pieces back in and taking them on, saying, yes, I am that. Even if it seems negative, there's a positive inside everything. And so you get to bring your power back, your ability to create. You wonder why I can't create this. Well, if you don't have access to 95% of your power, your ability, it's going to be very hard, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
talk about it. For those of us who have gone deep in the work of transformation and self-knowledge, wow, it can sometimes feel overwhelming, like there's just like more and more and more of it that gets to be uncovered and healed. So I'm curious for you, like, is there a point when you're working with people where they're like, okay, I'm just like in such a better space than I have been? And do you see some sort of is there like almost like a flight plan that happens for the people that you
Yeah,
work with,
totally.
or?
Yes, totally. First of all, it's very structured what I do. There's a blueprint I've come up with. I follow that blueprint pretty, closely. It's flexible depending on the person, but there's stages I take people through in the one-on-one coaching and in the power clusters. But they definitely get to that launch point. Some people it's a little faster than others, but one of the things, if I do pat myself on the back, one of the things I could say is that I have a high success rate with my clients. So they tend to achieve what they come to achieve. And the Power Cluster program is group coaching based on the concept in the Course in Miracles, that says, there's nothing more powerful than two or more minds joined together under one purpose.
Mm.
And that nothing is created or manifested in the universe without some form of union, right?
Wow.
So if I share with you my vision for my life and you're a trustworthy person, in the Bible, and I'm not a Bible guy, but it says, don't bury your pearls before swine. Don't share your ideas with people who are going to, put them down, right? Or deny your ability to have that. But share with people you trust, somebody you can take it in and receive it and hold it for you. The odds of that thing happening are exponentially greater.
Oh,
Exponentially greater. So if you're in a team of people wanting to move this forward, so you're there for them and they're there for you. One of the unique things about the power cluster is you come to give, you don't come to get.
mm.
That's the number one principle is I'm here to give. And as everybody's there to give, everybody gets what they need, right?
Yep.
So you're holding each other's vision, saying yes to that vision, the odds of it coming forward are much, much greater. And because you've created this network on the physical level, but also on the metaphysical level, you're going to attract more easily everything you need to generate that thing. That's the
I
idea.
love it.
I started them based on, I coached two Iraqi vets.
Mm.
And I decided that at some point that was not mine to do, but anymore, it was all good what we did. But what I learned from them, I will never forget. And both of these people said to me at different times, they didn't know each other, separate coaching sessions. Both of them said they wanted to go back. And
Wow.
it was astounding to me, right? Because
To Iraq. They wanted to go back to Iraq.
they wanted to go back into the
Wow.
war. And I asked them why, and they both had the same exact answer. They were like, not because we want to hurt anybody or be hurt, but because of the love in our platoon, like that camaraderie.
Mm.
They couldn't find that anyplace else, and they were very lonely when they came home. There was no bond or connect. Like these guys would literally jump on a grenade for each other,
Mm.
like that level. And it wasn't necessarily it was true love. What I call true love was like that none of these people knew each other until they got put into that group, right? But they learned very quickly they had to love each other at this level in order for them to survive. And so I try to recreate that without a war in the power cluster. Like, we're here for each other. If you don't get to go, then I don't go either, right? So it's that
Mm.
idea.
It's beautiful. I love it. It's so many same tenets of transformation, right? Like supporting each other's visions, being in contribution, creating a safe space. Um, it's like we're not meant, as you said, we're not meant to do it alone. I mean, people just light up when they feel like they matter and they feel like they're making a difference in somebody else's life. It's like amazing what people can step into when they're empowered in that way. And everything in our society pushes us to feel more isolated. I mean, maybe not everything, but there's a culture of isolationism, and I'll do it alone or I'll do it at the expense of, you know, persons A, B, C, whatever. And the more that we are so focused on our own personal agendas, it's like that's actually like less and less our humanity.
Yeah, totally.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
So amazing. So you've definitely enlightened me around a couple different topics. So thank you so much for having done the work and gone deep and creating these safe spaces and containers for people. How can people who are listening connect with you? Where can they follow you?
Yeah, you can go to markvandergaag.com. That's my name, markvandergaag.com, and links to all my programs are on there. You can check it out there. You can also email me at mark@markvandergaag.com. Happy to talk to you. Let me just put a shout out for my Power Cluster program.
Yes.
We still have a couple of slots left, so it's a limited group. Only so many get to be in a group. 10 max, so 8 minimum, 10 max. We're at our minimum. It's full, but we'll take 2 more. So anybody who's interested, reach out to me. Also, just to let you know, if you're already next levelers, I will take whatever you paid at next level. I'll take that right off the top of the cost, because I love to have next levelers in my group. They just rapidly get it. So.
Awesome. All right. Well, definitely check out Mark Vandergaag for sure. Do you also do something around the Course in Miracles that is
Oh, yeah.
accessible for
Yeah,
folks?
Thank you. Yeah, I do Course in Miracles on Wednesday evenings on Zoom. It's a Zoom call. So when you go to my website, you can find the link on there and sign up for the group. It'll put you in our private Facebook group, and then you could be on the Zoom calls. That is done by donation currently, whatever you want to donate. So it's open for anybody to jump in. It's on Wednesday evenings, 7:30 to 9. And then there's another one Friday mornings, 10 a.m. to 11:30. And so you get to have all that information, jump on there. If you do sign up, you'll get also my newsletter and a few other things in your email. And yeah, learn more about what I do.
Beautiful. Love it. Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for tuning in.
Thanks, Alexa.